All right, Janice, you want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, let's start. They
Okay.
can catch up.
Okay. This is Being Mindful of Our Thoughts, and it's from The Wise Heart by Jack Kornfield. Whatever a person thinks and reflects on, that will become the inclination of their mind. Buddha. Speak and act from unwise thoughts, and sorrow will follow you as surely as the wheel follows the ox who draws the cart. Speak and act from wise thoughts, and happiness will follow you as closely as your shadow, unshakable. Usually, we are only half conscious of the way thoughts direct our life. We are lost in thoughts as if they were reality. We take our own mental creations quite seriously, endorsing them without reservation. Often our fears don't turn out to be accurate predictions of anything. As Mark Twain put it, my life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened. When we become mindful of fearful thoughts, we see that fear is just a story accompanied by dramatic feelings. We don't have to take the story as truth. As we see the productions of our mind, we discover radical freedom. Once we recognize that thoughts are empty, the mind will no longer have the power to deceive us. Yet, however much we try, sometimes we're caught in our repetitive thoughts, and knowing about their emptiness doesn't help. We can obsess for months about a past relationship or about our fear of failure at work. These difficult patterns of thought can repeat and persist, excuse me, coloring our consciousness so deeply that we can be tormented by them, unable to see without their distortion. This is when we need, quite deliberately, to create positive thoughts in order to replace these unskillful patterns of mind. The understanding of these as simply unskillful states means that we can do something about them, as opposed to saying we're neurotic or there's no hope. We begin by using mindfulness to identify the patterns of thought that lead to our suffering. These include thoughts of unworthiness, jealousy and hatred, revenge, anxiety, clinging, and greed. Then, out of compassion, we change what is in our minds. We transform our thoughts as a loving protection of ourselves and of others. What we repeatedly think shapes our world. Out of compassion, substitute healthy thoughts for unhealthy ones.
And everybody that struggles with thoughts, raise your hand. How about both hands, right? I like this reading. It's simple, but it's really profound. And my favorite is where Mark Twain says, my life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most which have never happened. I believe wholeheartedly that if we can pause even for a second our thoughts and drop into our intuition, our gut, our feelings, our knowing, it's a first of all, it's a relief. How speak to this? I mean, speak to the whole reading, but how does that chatter land with you that it's all day long? It's just chatter, chirping, thoughts, you know. Go ahead, Jen.
So I had a little of an experience this week where I was in a situation that would normally cause activation, and there was words spoken by somebody else. I was in a situation where I had four people um talking to me kind of like at the same time, but then there was like all this energy in the room, and I was trying to resolve a problem for my mom. Her phone and internet was not working. I was on the phone with AT&T, and there was other players involved, and I was assigned to kind of fix it or take care of it. And there was some words spoken, and I felt myself feeling prickly and energized a little bit, energy coming on. And then the weirdest sensation came. I was, it's almost like an out of body experience where I was still dealing with it real time, but then there was like this sensation that the world slowed down. And I was looking at it from the outside and seeing people having their energy and interacting with each other and getting activated themselves and judging. And the thing that caused me to feel prickly, I was like, huh, I just kind of labeled it. Oh, that's interesting. That's prickly. And kind of let it sit there. And then I just continued dealing with the situation. But something that would like really have activated me just became into this like play of like awareness. And then I kind of just acknowledged it, labeled it, and then let it float there for a while. And then after I got through the whole situation, I went back and analyzed it and figured out like, well, why was I feeling prickly? Why was I activated? And then it was just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. But it was like a split second, all this was happening. But for the first time, I got to feel what it was like to have like, like this innate like the sensation of a pause, outside observer, not taking it in, not allowing myself to take off with it like I normally would have mentally. I just kind of was like, oh, realizing the sensation in my system is like slightly energized and slightly just like, okay, that's something that's bothering me, like that just, and then realizing that the intent of the other person might not have been what I thought it was. And so just kind of like, okay, and then I was able to like let it go and not pull it in.
I love that. And it's that awareness that you're becoming, it's like you don't have to be in the vortex
Right.
with them.
Right.
You pause that energetic vortex that you were getting sucked into.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And like for the first time in my life, I got to feel that sensation.
Mhm.
And I was so I've been learning all about this, through VKM and then also outside of VKM and practicing every day and like really bringing in the principles and the teachings and the philosophy and just like practicing like observing it every single day, that I was worried that like and I was bringing it in my soul and I believed it, but I was worried that if I had interactions like that, how would I feel or interact? Would I have to stop and pause and walk out in order to go through the process? And it kind of just was like a natural thing because I've been feeding my mind all these lessons and thoughts and philosophies every single day, to a point where I was so surprised that my system kind of jumped in and applied it in some way, because I've been, consciously just really bringing it in and trusting the process, and just like, I'm in for this. Like this is exactly how I want to be as a person. This is exactly how I want to think. And I've been, trying. It's been like almost 2 years now, year and a half, 2 years. And, I just each day I just make it part of my daily routine to mentally keep thinking about these things, how to process information. And, I had my first interaction that would have put me in the with 4 people kind of talking to me at the same time and then responding off of each other. And I just didn't bring it in.
I
So,
love that. Thank you for sharing that, because that's hope for all of us, right? That we can pause, my favorite word, and just not get caught and realize that
yeah.
it's their stuff, that you have a choice in that moment. And you did it. And didn't it feel
Yeah.
better?
Oh my gosh, it felt amazing. And I felt it was lighter. I didn't have these. I usually have like this, like almost like a tight little ice cube in my solar plexus when these events happen, and I didn't have that at all. It was just like the energy is flowing through all the chakras. I felt light. I just felt like somewhat in control, of myself, and the situation, because I'm not bringing it in. And it just felt so empowering. And it's like, um, I know this is going to be a lifetime thing, and I just have to keep trying every day and multiple times in my day. But I having that experience is like, okay, A, this works, and two, I can do it. Like, so, but it's just constant practice, constant, taking in the philosophies and the readings and doing a little bit each day. sometimes multiple times in a day.
Mhm. You know, and hopefully every time you do it, the reinforcement is it feels better.
Yeah. Oh, it feels so much better, in so many ways. And it also just kept, things, it's like one less energy in that vortex, so it doesn't amp up, you
Mhm.
know. So
That's
just want
huge. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's like a really big win. So that's awesome.
Anybody else ready to share what you're thinking? What's coming up for you guys?
Am I on speaker, Janice?
Yes.
Oh, okay, wasn't sure. I'm driving, so I couldn't figure out all the buttons. Um, what I'm thinking, this, there's a period of believing that you're good, and then something happens and you realize, I'm still very sensitive. And I mean, that's great. I mean, that's my goal, is to just be in flow and not have anything bother me. And that's how I try to live. But I was gotten a little bit earlier this week, and it was not fun. It's like it's almost more toxic than it ever was, because it feels so out of my body, where before I didn't even know I was out of my body. I was just like, oh, this is how I always feel. Um, and now it's just much more offensive, because I know I'm not going to use the word right or wrong, but anyways, it's not the way I would prefer to feel. And I can think my way through it, but it doesn't mean that resonance is going to leave my body as fast as I can think my way through it. That's my experience. My body likes to hang on to this when it happens. It's like, well, let me just keep repeating this. And I don't know if it's my brain or my body or both of them, but it's just not fun.
And I love to share, for many reasons, but the most important thing I got from it is you don't like it anymore. It's real obvious. It is really yucky. So,
Yeah. I mean, I spent so many years like that. And then I poured some alcohol on it because I was miserable. And now I don't do that. So, and the feeling is just a little bit, it's just more disturbing, because I'm clean, and my soul's clean and my energy's clean. And so when it does come in, it's just like, ugh. It's like, I know it's happening, and I wish there was something I could do rapidly, like within that second, to have it dissipate, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
well, I think in time it will get less for sure, you know.
But it has gotten less. It already has gotten less.
Yeah.
And there is faith in that, for sure. It's just, it's just so much more toxic than I expected, It was like, whoa, this is not good. So
Right.
yeah.
And it's so beautiful because it is a combination of the mind and the body having a trauma response too, and a reactive, startled experience.
Yeah, it's just it's very strange. I'm glad it's gone. I hope it doesn't come back. It's not invited in again. And yeah, so it's takes a lot to keep me together, to put me back in place, Janice.
That's the truth for all of us, right? When that jolt hits, it's like,
I'm fortunate that I know, that I know,
yeah,
and that helps. And I know what to
yes,
do, and I know it works for me.
right.
But it just doesn't, I'd like to snap my fingers and be like, oh, okay, I get it. Now go away. I
So
don't
thank,
get that luxury.
right. I'm glad you're sharing that though, because many of us have that experience for sure. Where you're
Yeah.
moving along thinking everything's great and then it just boom
Right?
comes. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's just basically, childhood wounds, life wounds
right.
that have gotten all settled down and then they're not settled anymore. So that's my share.
Thank you for sharing. So who else? Come on, you lovelies, you brilliant women that I so enjoy seeing on Thursday nights.
I'll just say, to reflect on Michelle and Jen so far, although I
Yeah,
have some additional thoughts maybe later, but like, I'm not sure if it's the same as Michelle, but like what Jen did is amazing. And, I, I know that like I can even get to the point of realizing that, um, oh gosh, how do say it? Realizing that my emotions are taking over, or my thoughts aren't real, or I don't know the words Jen used, but in a situation where all of a sudden, my senses, yeah, I'm feeling my senses. I know I'm getting upset. And I know at that point, like Jen did, she could take a pause, step back and look at it. But sometimes it gets me so hard that even if I'm aware of it, like I can't stop.
Okay.
Like I think I still follow through, maybe because I need that hit of of anger or whatever, but I don't know. And I can't even think of an example right now, mostly probably with my husband more than anything at this point, but yeah, I can see where yeah, I could step back, but I don't. I keep moving forward with the negative conversation or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an example, but I just wanted to say that you rock. Good job.
yeah,
Thank
and
you. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Kate, because it's like going back to that emotional addiction reading, where it's so familiar, that charge, that hit. It's not like 6 years from now that we totally, have learned and separated more and more from it. It's so ingrained. It's like breath almost, being addicted to the chaos and frenzy or whatever that hit, So even just recognizing that's a huge step, right?
So Kate, I had something similar a few months back as you described it happened to me. And I was activated and I was aware, but then my patterns still were being expressed and I still went for a little bit of the activation ride. And even though I was like aware of what I should be doing and I tried to apply the tools, but my brain just wouldn't allow it. And I went through these cycles of kind of like they always talk about the dahlia flower. It became like where you'll take a couple steps forward and then it comes back a little, comes back, and then you take another couple steps forward. And I felt like what it felt like for me, that how you described it for myself when I was in a similar situation, was almost like my mind, like wanting, and it's a little bit alluding to what Janice is saying, it's wanting to stay in that state. Like it's like this is so familiar. And no, I know that you're trying to go in a different route, but you know what? This is my brain having this conversation, almost like this is so familiar. I want to stay in the state because that's what I know. And so it was like this, like almost like this fight of like, nope, I want this new mindset, I want this new neural pathway, and the old brain was like, nope, I like it this way, it's comfortable, we always done it this way, we know what we're doing. And so it's like this, it's really a weird sensation, but it's definitely happened to me too.
Yeah, it's like we crave that. It's a craving, and we're getting, obviously through this process, you're getting further and further away from that craving and you're recognizing it more, but it's still so familiar. It's like a friend almost. It's been so much a part of your life, and recognition is just the first step. But it does. Our body craves it even, if you go back and read the emotional addiction reading, it's like the body actually is wired toward that chemical experience. You know?
Sarita did, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll wait.
I thought I kept seeing Sarita like go to unmute herself. I just wanted to check in on that. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Can you,
Okay.
okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I took forever to try to unmute it. Guys, not good with the technology. What this made me think of in terms of thoughts and the Mark Twain quote, "My life is filled with horrible things, most of which have never happened." Worry, thoughts of worry were a huge thing for me. And I rationalized the purpose of that worry and those thoughts is like, oh, I'm going to be prepared. Whatever happens, that worry is focused on, I'm going to be prepared for it. Um, and it didn't. I mean, it's just like it said, stuff doesn't happen. You get caught in these thoughts that sort of shut you off from the other possibilities, which is something that I learned actually in law. Wanting to have everything perfect and prepared, and then something comes out of the blue, and you're like, oh my gosh! And the best person can go in the flow and just go with that. And so I can see the way that thoughts constrict. Definitely. And I had something today that I couldn't remember what it was, but it was an old triggering situation. And I immediately went to this thing of like, poor me, victim, awful, and I actually caught myself this time. I said, it's really not that bad. It's not that bad what you're thinking. And so it's like a little bit, especially with the depression, of just checking the actual facts. If you can be that rational in your thoughts. Because when I'm depressed, it's like the worst of the worst is going to happen when it's very unrealistic. What you're thinking that's going to happen. Let's see if I have anything else. I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I love the thing about worry because, I mean, that is a thought loop for sure. It's like, oh my God, oh my God. And trying to plan for every single experience, event, problem, whatever, you're not living and you're not able to be in the moment, which is necessary to survive. You're in a loop living a process of trying to plan and worry about every plan and every back door. And you're not in the moment because the moment is varied and infinite. You can't plan for every, but if you're in the moment, then you're ready and you're available and trust yourself to manage it and handle it. I like that, Sharita. I think that was really good. Kristen, you wanted to share?
Well, mine's not as uplifting or as positive.
It's all right.
Mine's more of the negative. So, I'm a teacher, so I have papers to grade that I've been putting off for a long time, and my depression has sank in, where weekends, instead of getting up and doing anything, I've stayed in bed for a lot of weekends. And it's hard for me to figure out my reason for getting up and doing these papers because part of me is like, what do I care? What does it really matter? I know it matters to my kids, and I'm trying to remember that, but my depression is just overwhelming and it keeps taking hold of me. And each weekend, I swear I'm going to get up and do the papers, and each weekend, I can't get myself out of bed.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does your depression have a voice?
I don't know if it has a voice.
Does it have a process like, I don't want to get up, it's not worth it, it doesn't have
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I definitely have that. Yeah, that why bother? Um, you've got more things going on than who cares about the fucking papers, excuse my language.
Right.
Um, when you've got more going on when you can't get yourself out of bed. And so it's really hard for me to care about the other things when I can't care enough to get myself out of bed each morning on the weekends. I do every day for work. I'm up and I'm ready and I'm on time to work. And that's probably the only thing that saves me is that I have to be there.
Well, I'm glad you have to be there, so that's a good beginning. But getting back to the voice, Kristen, it's like depression is a feeling for sure, but the voice is more deadly
Yeah.
in that if you can at least pause it and shift it, because the voice is what keeps you feeling worse and worse and worse. If you really start noticing it, it's easier to combat the voice than the feeling isn't as pervasive, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I
Yeah.
just wish it was that easy.
Yeah, I know it's not, but it does help, I promise, if you shift the voice and challenge it and reframe it as best you can.
Right. No, I get that. That makes sense.
I bet, Liz, you can talk about that too, I'm sure other people can too about depression. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just totally understand what you're saying, Kristen. I've struggled with depression my whole life and I still do. But I feel like over time and just in recovery, I've, learned ways to manage it, I guess. And the voice, it's a tough one. It really is. Um, and what I started doing just that helped me was I just started like getting up and moving. Like I just had to, even though everything, kind of in me was like, or that voice, I should say, was like, what are you doing? Just stay in bed or stay on the couch. Um, just go for a walk. Just move. I just had to move. Just like do something like that. And I just made myself do it. And because I was like, I don't want to live my life on this couch. I just don't. And I don't know, it is really hard though. And I think it's, different for everyone, but I just really, your share really, I don't know, resonates with me. I feel it. So thank you for sharing. The other thing I did was just reached out and called people, even though that felt really hard too. Because the last thing I wanted to do was like, pour out my negative, depressed voice onto someone else, you know? But what I often found was that I didn't do that. And it was nice just to hear what other people were doing or thinking. And then it turned out that they wanted to connect too, that me actually calling them helped them. And, because there was the other side of the coin, which was, uh, I don't want to bother anyone or be a burden or although, that type of thing. But it really actually I would probably say every single time that people were glad I called and said I really needed to talk to, like have real talk. So it was, I don't know, I guess that's what I have to share about that. I could go on and on. We could have a whole weekly meeting on just depression and how it's different for everyone. And but yeah, I think now I kind of feel it just differently. I can tell in my body when I'm kind of getting pulled into depression. Um, and I recognize it. And that's when I'll like, um, you know, move or go to yoga or take care of myself in some way so that I don't kind of get drawn in. I don't know if that's helpful or sits with you at all well, but
How do you feel it in your body? Like, what do you notice in your body for yourself?
I feel just this um, heavy feeling that, and really kind of listless. Like I just want to lay down. And yeah, and so I kind of do contrary action. I think that's what they call it at VKM, of just being like, nope. Even if it's just walk around the apartment building with my dog, just one little thing can shift the energy. But yeah, I definitely feel it.
Yeah, and getting back to the voice, which are thoughts, so getting back to the topic, our thoughts have voices and it exacerbates the depression. That's really what I want also each of you to really realize, challenging, interrupting the thoughts, not giving into all the time because they get more and more pervasive,
Mhm.
debilitating, and heavy. Go ahead.
One thing I want to say is that one of my big kind of depression voices is that, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just lay here in bed all day. But really, what I was saying to myself was, I don't matter, but I do matter, and I'm fighting for my life here. And you know, I'll do what it takes. But I think that's the voice, and it really is it's a it's a tough one. But you know, I feel like I've you know trained it or recognize it more. And but yeah, I think also I just want to add another thing about depression and the voice. It's once I really was like, yeah, I matter. And I don't want to say those things to myself anymore. Then I like would do things to just change my behavior. Don't go back into the bedroom after I get up in the morning. Just don't. Um, and even if I have to close the door, just make it like off limits for going in there. And that has really helped too. But the voice, still gotta deal with that terrible voice. But it quiets down sometimes anyway. I'd love to hear from other people. I know,
I would too. I think that was really
Yeah.
good. Thank you for sharing,
Yeah.
Liz.
yeah.
And I appreciate it. I know, like, like when I was first um, reading this for today, I really started thinking about like how I've been over the last like probably month, and it's just been like I have been in a deep depression. And as I was listening to everybody, I was just kind of like taking notes, like giving myself some questions because like Another thing that popped up for me is like manifestation, right? Like our thoughts manifest, which is something that I haven't really been thinking about. And I've been so in my head with like, I've felt numb. And I think I've just been overthinking about like why I feel this way, or like, a big thing has been the voice. So now I wrote a big note. I said the voice is the villain. So because I've had a lot of those thoughts, like, and it's been hard. I have been going back to bed in in the mornings, and I haven't been moving my body, and I know that that's a huge thing, but it's that inner chatter that's just been like bringing me down, 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 like further down. And like I was just talking in a class today where I was like, I feel like I've like kind of declined and stuff. And now I realize it's because I have let that voice really take over my life, with so many like excuses on um, why I don't need to do certain things, and like I like what you said, Liz, about how it's like, because I always say, oh, it doesn't matter. And how like that goes to like I don't matter. And I really appreciate that, because that's something that I really want to keep in my head to like help me change my behaviors, because like I know that I need to change like my behaviors and get back on my rituals and stuff, but it's just been so much talk in my head, and like I'm really trying to work on myself, and I'm learning that I have like, well, I have mental health issues, and some are a little bit more extreme than I realized. And depression is a huge one. So um, I really appreciate like listening to everybody, because yeah, it's that voice, it really has just been manifesting so much crud in my life. And um yeah, I mean, I really appreciate this reading today, because it's really like I've been like telling myself I'm stuck, I'm scared to go out, like I don't know how to make friends, and all like oh, I'm so sad, like I haven't felt happiness, and it's like these continuous thoughts that just keep playing over and over in my head. And I haven't done anything to fight that back. So like I really, really needed this today. So I'm really grateful for it. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, I just, there's nobody that gets through life without feeling depressed at times, some more, some less. But we learn depression too when we're little, because it's depressing what we have to go through. It really is. And going back to, I don't matter, so it doesn't matter, was learned early on, and they've like become one, that it doesn't matter really is I don't matter. I don't care enough about myself, because we didn't learn to care enough about ourselves. And depression is like the umbrella of that, to varying degrees. Did that help, Kristen? So get out of bed and don't shut that door and don't go back in.
That's right.
The taboo.
It
No
helped
going
me.
back to bed.
Making that rule for myself really did help me. I mean I don't know.
It's just a possibility. Anybody else want to share? Cindy, you've been quiet. You always have such good shares.
I do have a lot going on in my mind about all of this, and I'm so grateful for everyone's shares, and I can relate to just so much of it. I'm having a hard time like articulate and kind of getting my thoughts together to where I can articulate it. I can give it a try, but it's going to be messy.
Oh, that's all right.
Um, I did a solo road trip in the fall for 25,000 miles in my Prius. And I went all over the western half of the United States and up into Canada. And I can tell you guys that this is when I was the most unhealthy, and it was what led me to go into the residential program. I ruminated the entire 25,000 miles and had that incessant negative chatter. I didn't even listen to music. Imagine that, because music triggered me. Lyrics triggered me. So for July through when I went into BCAM was December. I was deepening and creating and deepening and deepening and deepening those neural pathways. And of course, it was a continuation of what had been happening for a long time, but it was just amplified. And I was by myself the whole time, just camping. And I look back on that and I kind of shudder a little bit. I mean, there's good things about it too, because it took me to the rock bottom. So I'm grateful for that. It's kind of hard for me to say the things that I kind of put to nail down the things that have gotten me much farther along on my journey. I'm so grateful for where I am on my journey right now. I know I have a lot farther to go, but I'm not there where I was. So some of the things that have helped me and this is not for everyone, but at VKM, I did the ketamine sessions, or, they drove me there. And I think that opened my mind to new ideas. So I think that was sort of one thing that helped me. And believe me, Kristen, I feel for you, because the depression is just unbearable sometimes. So I feel for you. But the depression, PTSD, that sort of thing, I think the ketamine opened some doors for me. So that was helpful for me. Just the turning of my mind to my internal self that BKM allowed me to do was transformational for me. It, again, to just kind of even open the door for any of the progress that I was going to have then over the next 5 months or so. Sarah, if you haven't read The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer, it speaks to exactly what you're talking about with the thoughts and manifesting. If you're into reading, I can tell you that that's a book that was incredible for me in understanding the agency that I have in being able to change my life. Because I didn't think I had that agency before. I didn't think that I had that strength. I didn't think that I had the know-how, of course. And then, of course, internal family systems therapy, which is which is incorporating all of those voices, or not incorporating, but it's touching on all of those different voices in our head. And it does not make them the enemy. We are actually listening to them and learning from them and finding out why they do what they do and what role they've been serving in our adult lives post-trauma, you know. And those parts were created from the trauma that we all had in different ways. And so when I do go into some depressive sort of states now, as Liz was saying, I feel a heaviness, and I am aware of that thought that I'm having, that very negative depressive thought. And I have compassion for myself. I have compassion for that part inside me that is expressing that depressive thought. And I listen to it, and I don't push it away. And I have, like I said, compassion for it. I have compassion for myself. I understand now why I do the things I do, why I think the things I do. And I know now that I have the tools to grow. The other thing that's been incredible for me, and I think I mentioned this to you all last week or the week before, you know, I said that I did not even listen to music when I was on that road trip, and I hadn't listened to music in years. And so I've rediscovered music. I walk a lot, and I have my earbuds on, and I have what I call my serotonin playlist. And it has songs that touch me, that are songs of healing. Trevor Hall is a name of a person who I listen to, and Andy Grammer. Robbie Williams has some really great healing songs. And then just a whole other plethora of healing songs. And I really do believe that because I listen to it constantly, like if I'm making my lunch or, you know, whatever it is, I'm usually listening to that music. I believe that those neural pathways, those destructive thoughts that were creating such deep neural pathways, I don't even ruminate on those things anymore because, well, one of the reasons is because I have replaced even that open, that headspace. I've replaced it with music that's so healing for me. And that is rewiring my brain. So that's been incredible for me. And because my neural pathways were shot, you know, especially after that really long road trip.
Mm.
And then just reading, tons and tons and tons of reading. So I think that's, and there's lots of other things that have helped me. But
Thank you, Cindy. You bring up,
and pickleball.
oh, pickleball. Oh, you mentioned pickleball before.
Yeah.
But I really love a lot of the points you made. One, the self-compassion part
Mhm.
and learning from those thoughts. I think that's very loving. A loving way to kind of experience them and understand them, or not deal with, like, relate to them.
Great word, yeah.
And there was something else what part of your share reminded me of was how when I was first in recovery and getting out of VKM, I remember someone saying, you know, pay attention to what you let into your mind. Right. So what you expose yourself to, what TV shows you're watching, what music you're listening to, what you're, all of those types of what books you're reading, etc. Because I think like your point to the music kind of helping create the new neural pathways, I think is really interesting to me because I think it takes a lot of reinforcement and focus and commitment to do that. And
Yes.
and I just I really like that. I had my VKM playlist too. And I still have it
Yeah.
and access it. But thank you for your share. I wanted to mention something that Jen just shared in the I hope you don't mind, Jen, in the chat, um, about self-compassion, and just what a struggle that can be sometimes. Um, and I mean, I agree. I don't know if Janice, if you'd want to say anything in relation to that, or Jen, elaborate maybe, but I think it's a good point to bring that in.
Yeah, I think it could be a whole group on
Yes.
self-compassion.
Yes.
I mean, just a blurb on it, but I mean, that is healing. Self-compassion is part of the healing process. Without it, you're not going to get very far. It's going to be more chatter. You've got to have self-compassion for the parts, for yourself, for your inner being, for
Mhm.
others. I mean, self-compassion is critical to healing and shifting. It just is critical because it is really caring for self, having compassion for self. We do that so easily for others, the external compassion for everybody and everything, and again, it's self-love. It's saying, I do matter. I matter. I'm going to have compassion for me because I do matter. Going back to the other side where it doesn't matter. Well, self-compassion is saying, I do matter, that you take the time and the focus and experience that healing process of self-compassion. I like this reading. I like this conversation. I think it was very hopefully helpful to you guys.
Mhm.
Just I love that everybody has a different approach and it broadens all of it. And I truly do think we can bring up and experience and reprocess depression because it is ongoing, it's pervasive,
Yeah.
it gets muddy if we're not careful,
Mhm.
and it interferes with joy, my favorite word.
Mhm.
For me, it interferes with TV shows. I don't watch a lot, but my daughter recommended Peaky Blinders. I don't know if anyone else has seen it.
Yes.
Um, but it gives me the same, I don't know how to describe it, the same feeling when Peaky Blinders comes up and I'm supposed to let it go for the first season so that I can enjoy what it is. And I'm still having a hard time with it. But I also can let it go. So it's a hard one. I don't know if anyone else has watched Peaky Blinders and if they might be able to add anything to this.
I've seen it, but I can't add anything to that. But I see we're coming close to the end of our time, and Janice, I know you wanted to share something.
Oh yeah, you guys can certainly pipe in. I was wondering about maybe shifting this to every other week. Are you guys committed enough that you feel like every week is helpful? Everybody put your fingers up, talk about it, whatever.
I'm
What-
enjoying once a week.
I,
Okay,
I definitely, I definitely look forward to this.
okay. Okay, because I just want to make sure, I don't want to, because I feel like it's beneficial and it's your group, so. What do you think, Kate?
Just put it in the chat. I mean, I like it weekly, but it's a big commitment. So I'm not sure if there's a monetary future to this or what's happening with that, but it's a lot of commitment on your end. So I want to respect what you can do. So
Oh, well, that's sweet. No, I feel like it serves purpose for sure. So I just wanted to ask you guys, I just wanted to run it past you since you're the group.
Really look forward to the weekly.
All right.
It
Well,
kind of
let's
gives,
go with that.
Thank you
All
for
right.
asking.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So next week.
All
All
right.
right.
thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
bye.